Rich millionaire husband's affair with mistress exposed when wife walks in on their heated argument. The glimmer of the city lights seemed to pale in comparison to the sparkle of Emily Harrington's diamond ring as she stepped out of her chauffeured limousine. Married to one of the wealthiest men in the world, William Harrington, she lived in a world most people only dreamed about. However, behind the gated mansion walls and glitzy galas lurked secrets that threatened to shatter her perfect image. What Emily didn't know was that her seemingly flawless life would soon unravel. One heated argument, one pregnant wife walking in at the wrong moment, and one explosive revelation would change all of their lives forever. Emily Harrington had always believed that the greatest threat to a marriage was monotony. She'd read countless self-help articles warning about passion fizzling out or daily routines smothering the spark. But in her wildest dreams, she'd never expected an affair to fall into her lap, or rather, to see it explode before her eyes in the grand foyer of the Harrington estate. She was on the cusp of her third trimester, a time that should have been filled with maternal anticipation and gentle excitement. Yet on a warm evening in early June, her entire universe tilted on its axis. The day had begun innocently enough with a brunch at the plaza, where Emily had been invited to speak about her philanthropic collaboration with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She arrived home earlier than expected, stepping through the towering mahogany doors of the Harrington mansion. Instantly she sensed something was amiss. The air in the foyer was charged, like static before a thunderstorm. Then she heard hushed voices tense, desperate from the living room beyond. Holding her breath, Emily clutched her purse tightly, willing herself to remain calm. The first thing she saw when she peeked around the corner was William's face. His usually composed features were etched with fury and anguish. Opposite him stood a woman Emily recognized all too well, Sophia Caldwell, William's impeccably dressed public relations manager who'd grown alarmingly close to them over the past year. Shocked, Emily watched Sophia's face contort, eyes brimming with tears as she lashed out at William. Whatever they were fighting about, it seemed fiercely personal. Emily's pulse raced. Her mind whirled. Why would William's PR manager be in the house at this hour? Why were they so upset? Then, just as Emily mustered the courage to step forward and demand answers, she heard a phrase that would haunt her. "You never intended to leave her, did you, William?" Sophia's voice cracked. "You're choosing your unborn child over me." A chilly wave of realization crashed over Emily. She inhaled sharply, unable to hold back a small gasp. The sound drew William's attention. He and Sophia both turned, surprise and horror frozen on their faces. In that instant, the entire precarious facade came crashing down. Emily's presence was no longer hidden, nor was the devastating truth. Her heart pounded so violently that she feared it might stop altogether. She let out a trembling breath, tears welling in her eyes. Her perfect diamond-studded life had just been shattered, like fine crystal striking marble. For a single prolonged moment, no one moved, no one spoke. The hush was deafening. And then, in a trembling voice that shook the foundation of their marriage, Emily asked the one question that would set into motion a chain of events none of them could ever reverse. "What have you done, William?" Like many women who married into wealth, Emily had been warned that power came with temptations. Yet William Harrington had swept her off her feet with genuine kindness, a gentle soul hidden under the armor of corporate success. He wasn't your typical billionaire philanderer, or so she had believed. Even as rumors rippled through tabloids about him, flirting with socialites or employing suspiciously beautiful assistants, Emily dismissed them as mere gossip. After all, she was no stranger to the rumor mill. She'd once been rumored to be in a secret relationship with an Italian count, simply because they were spotted sharing an umbrella. Talk was cheap, especially in high society, yet in hindsight there had been little signs. Once, William took an unexpected business trip to Milan. He told Emily it was urgent to deal with an Italian automobile magnate. But upon his return, Emily noticed an unfamiliar perfume clinging to his jacket. She chalked it up to him brushing shoulders with an overly perfumed hostess at some networking dinner. Another time, Emily stumbled upon a stray diamond earring in the back seat of William's Rolls-Royce Phantom. When she asked him about it, he claimed it belonged to a potential investor who had accidentally dropped it. His eyes were unwavering, his explanation measured. Emily believed him without question. Her trust in William was unwavering, a fortress built over several years of shared dreams, philanthropic endeavors, and tender moments. She recalled the night he proposed, on a snowy terrace overlooking the Eiffel Tower, when he pledged eternal devotion. His voice had trembled with sincerity, and Emily never doubted he meant every word. Now, standing in the foyer, confronted by William's betrayal, she realized she'd clung to an illusion for far too long. Sophia Caldwell, the alleged mistress, was a woman Emily had admired for her brilliance and poise. She had orchestrated some of William's most successful public campaigns, defending his philanthropic choices and deflecting nasty rumors with an artful grace. The idea that Sophia might be the other woman was something Emily had brushed off whenever she caught a whisper about their closeness. Emily considered it impossible Sophia had become more than an employee. She was practically a fixture in their lives, someone Emily confided in, even about her pregnancy joys and fears. To suspect her of betrayal felt unimaginable, but that imaginary shield had now cracked beyond repair. Emily couldn't unhear Sophia's anguished confession, those words dripping with heartbreak and jealousy. And William's silence in that moment confirmed it all. His eyes, normally so steady, darted to the floor. He didn't defend himself. He didn't call Sophia a liar. He simply stood there, swallowing as though forced to ingest the bitter truth. And Emily's heart tore in two. The immediate aftermath was chaos. Emily demanded answers, only to be met with stammers and apologies. Sophia, trembling with rage, didn't even attempt to flee or hide. She turned her fury toward Emily, accusing her of being a clueless trophy wife who never truly understood William. Each insult was like a shard of glass, cutting deep. William, for his part, begged Sophia to stop, but couldn't bring himself to openly defend Emily either. His face was pale, sweat beading on his forehead. The argument escalated. Emily's voice rose, the protective instinct of an expectant mother fueling her courage. She demanded Sophia leave immediately, which triggered a shrill tirade from Sophia. She claimed William had promised her a future. She railed about how she had sacrificed her reputation, her personal life, her everything for William. As Sophia's voice cracked, tears streamed down her face. The remorse and devastation were plain. At the same time, she clearly loathed Emily for standing in the way of what she believed was her rightful happiness. Eventually, security was summoned. A stone-faced butler, Anderson, who had been with Emily's family for decades, placed a discreet call. Within minutes, 2 imposing guards appeared and escorted Sophia out. The last glimpse Emily had of her, Sophia was in hysterics, vowing that William would regret turning his back on her. A cold dread lodged in Emily's stomach. This was far from over. Once the doors slammed shut, an uneasy silence descended in the foyer. Emily turned to William, tears brimming. 1,000 questions stormed her mind. How long had this been going on? Did their friends or family suspect? Was she the only fool in a mansion of conspirators? Yet only one question escaped her lips. Why, William, why did you do this to me? He tried to speak, but words failed him. She watched as his eyes, once her sanctuary, flickered with an odd mix of regret and anxiety. In that split second, Emily realized that the man before her was someone she barely recognized. He was a far cry from the earnest suitor who had once knelt in the snow, pledging love. Before William could answer, Emily stormed away, tears streaming down her cheeks. She needed air, space, time, some semblance of calm to process the magnitude of her betrayal. She ascended the marble staircase, passing portraits of the Harrington lineage that lined the walls. They seemed to stare at her with silent judgment, or perhaps pity. She reached the sanctuary of her bedroom, their bedroom, and slammed the door shut, leaning against it as though it were the final defense against a hostile world. That night, Emily didn't see William. She refused dinner, her appetite replaced by waves of nausea. Her unborn child stirred inside her, a poignant reminder that life marched on even when illusions died. At midnight, unable to sleep, Emily found herself seated in front of a lavish vanity mirror. Reflections danced across the polished mahogany as she traced the contour of her growing belly. Questions tormented her. How had she missed the signs? Or had she simply chosen ignorance, too frightened to face the idea that William might be unfaithful? Memories flitted across her mind, snapshots of a happier time. She remembered a philanthropic gala in Los Angeles, where they had rubbed shoulders with Elon Musk, discussing technological innovations for environmental solutions. William had been so passionately involved, and Emily had adored his ambition. She remembered trips to Lake Como where they dined with local nobility. The starry skies reflected in his eyes, and he told her she was the love of his life. She replayed the wedding vows under that floral arch, the rose petals drifting through the air as they sealed their union with a kiss. Now every cherished moment felt tainted. Were any of them real, or had the entire marriage been built on illusions? By dawn, Emily realized she had to confront William. She couldn't perpetuate the charade of a perfect couple. She was about to be a mother, and the child deserved a stable foundation, whatever form that might take. Summoning every ounce of willpower, she changed out of her crumpled nightgown, donned a simple white dress, and made her way downstairs. Morning light filtered into the dining room through tall French windows. A decadent spread of fruit, pastries, and freshly brewed coffee sat on the table, a daily tradition in the Harrington household. Normally, William would already be halfway through his breakfast, reading stock reports or scanning emails. But that morning, he was perched at the far end of the table, fiddling anxiously with his coffee cup. He looked up when Emily entered, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. For a minute, neither of them spoke. The clinking of a distant staff member's trolley in the hallway punctuated the silence. Finally, William cleared his throat. "Emily, please, let's talk." She nodded and approached him, pulling out a chair to sit across the table. But she found she couldn't meet his gaze for more than a second. Her eyes kept returning to the view of the estate's gardens, imagining how different life had looked just yesterday. Finally, she forced herself to focus on him, wanting to see truth, or at least a scrap of remorse in his expression. "Why?" she repeated, her voice shaking. "All these years. Why would you do this?" "And why her?" He exhaled heavily. "I don't know how to begin. It started after that fiasco with the corporate takeover last year. The stress was unbearable. You were traveling for the philanthropic engagements, meeting with Bill Gates and others. I felt alone." He paused, raking a hand through his hair. Sophia was there. She understood the crisis we were facing. One thing led to another. "I never intended to fall into this, but it just happened." Emily winced, struggling to keep her composure. "It just happened." "Don't insult me." Her tone was sharper than she'd intended. "An affair isn't a slip on a wet floor, William. It requires effort to hide, to lie. You've betrayed me and our unborn child." William looked as though he'd been slapped. He opened his mouth, but Emily lifted her hand. "I'm speaking, William. I've given you space to talk all these years. Now you listen to me. Do you love her?" The question hovered between them like a toxic cloud. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he shook his head. No, it was never about love. It was a mistake. We ended it months ago, at least. I thought we had. She hasn't accepted it. Emily's jaw tightened. And so she arrived yesterday, demanding you make good on your promises? You might not have intended to leave me, but you sure gave her reason to believe so. That's the part that stings. William's eyes brimmed with tears. I'm sorry, Emily, truly. I was stupid, selfish. I never wanted to hurt you. She swallowed the lump in her throat. A swirl of emotions battered her. Anger, disbelief, heartbreak, and a faint spark of empathy for the man she had once adored. I need time, William. This is a betrayal that won't be mended with words. In the meantime, I want Sophia out of our lives. Permanently. He nodded in fervent agreement. I'll handle it, I promise. But Emily knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. She stood up slowly, aware of her heavy belly. I'm going to my mother's for a while, she said quietly. I need some distance. And I need you to think about how to make this right, not just for me, but for our child. She turned to leave, tears threatening again. As she walked away, William spoke her name with heartbreak in his voice, but she didn't turn around. She simply exited the dining room, unsure if she'd ever see him the same way again. 2 hours later, Emily found herself gazing out the window of a private helicopter, courtesy of her mother's insistence on a quick escape. Her mother, Helena Beaumont, had been an heiress in her own right, a formidable figure who married Emily's father, the late Maxwell Beaumont, a revered name in shipping and logistics. Their estate, Silver Pines, was a few hours north, set against rolling hills and a tranquil lake. It was the perfect place for Emily to take refuge. As the helicopter touched down on the manicured lawn, Helena greeted her daughter with a flurry of concern. Emily was guided inside to a cozy suite overlooking the gardens. She sank onto a chaise lounge, momentarily overwhelmed by the sense of safety, yet the swirl of betrayal churned inside her mind. She found herself unable to stop replaying Sophia's venomous accusations, William's pained expression, and her own fury. Helena soon arrived with hot chamomile tea. "My darling," she said, her voice laced with maternal protectiveness, "you must rest. Stress is terrible for the baby. Tell me what happened, only if you feel up to it." Emily explained everything in a shaky whisper, and Helena listened intently, occasionally dabbing at tears with a monogrammed handkerchief. "Men can be such fools," Helena finally declared. "But you're not alone, Emily. You have me. You have your father's legacy. You can stand on your own if you choose to. Do not let William's betrayal define you." Emily thanked her mother, feeling a flicker of empowerment. The next few days drifted by quietly. Emily spent her mornings taking gentle walks around the lake, her mind an echo chamber of conflicting emotions. In the afternoons, she retreated into the library and found solace in reading. Oddly, she picked up a biography of Jeff Bezos, drawn to tales of monumental success and complicated personal lives. It made her realize that wealth, ambition, and relationships always breed complex consequences. But one thing was certain: Emily needed to protect herself and her child. Whether that meant divorcing William or forgiving him was a question she couldn't yet answer. On the third day of her stay at Silver Pines, Emily was in the garden, admiring the rose bushes, when Anderson, the butler, approached with a cautious expression. "Madam," he said quietly, "there is a visitor." Emily frowned. "William?" Anderson shook his head. "No, madam. It's Miss Sophia Caldwell. She arrived claiming it's urgent." Security tried to turn her away, but she's been rather insistent. A shockwave rolled through Emily. What nerve Sophia had! Rage ignited inside her, but so did curiosity. "Where is she now?" "She's outside the main gate, refusing to leave." Anderson lowered his voice. "Shall I have security escort her off the property?" Emily hesitated. Perhaps it was reckless, but part of her wanted to look Sophia in the eye. She needed answers, anything to make sense of William's betrayal. "Let her in," she said softly. "I'll meet her in the foyer." Moments later, Sophia stood in the grand marble foyer of Silver Pines, looking distinctly out of place. She wore large sunglasses, her hair pulled back, revealing dark circles under her eyes. The usual poise and polish Emily associated with her PR presence were absent. She was trembling. "I'm sorry to barge in like this," Sophia said, voice quavering, "but I need to talk to you." Emily's insides churned with contempt, yet she forced herself to maintain composure. "You have 5 minutes. Then you're leaving." Sophia removed her sunglasses, revealing tear-filled eyes. "I'm pregnant," she said, her voice cracking. "I didn't even realize it until recently." Those words crashed upon Emily like a tidal wave. She felt as though the air had been sucked from the room. "Pregnant? Could this woman be carrying William's child too?" Sophia continued, desperation edging her tone. "William doesn't believe me. He told me never to contact him again. He said he'd have me fired from every PR agency in the country if I dared to go public. I'm broke. My reputation is already on shaky ground because of rumors no other high-profile clients will touch me. I need help, Emily." "Help?" Emily echoed incredulously, her anger flaring. "You seduced my husband, threatened my marriage, and have the audacity to show up here begging for help?" Sophia's eyes darted away. "I never intended for it to happen like this. William and we got entangled. I thought he cared for me. But now he's turned against me. I have no one else to turn to." She stepped forward, but Emily recoiled, one hand protectively on her own belly. "I know you have every reason to hate me, but please, I'm desperate." A swirl of conflicting thoughts consumed Emily. On one hand, she was livid at Sophia's betrayal. On the other, the possibility of an innocent child who might be her baby's half-sibling stirred something profoundly maternal within her. But suspicion also loomed. Was Sophia lying just to manipulate them, or was her despair genuine? "Leave," Emily said coldly, "and never come back here. I'm not your salvation. If you're truly pregnant, deal with William. He's the father if that's even true, but do not drag me into your mess." A flash of anguish crossed Sophia's face, and she bit her lip. "Emily, I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted this to end like, get out," Emily repeated, shaking with fury. Anderson appeared, escorting Sophia away. The moment the doors closed, Emily collapsed onto a nearby settee, her body trembling with shock. Another child? The scandal threatened to tear every fabric of normalcy from her life. She forced herself to breathe, reminding herself that her baby's well-being was paramount. But the questions battered her mind, refusing to be silenced. If Sophia was telling the truth, how far would she go to protect herself, and what did that mean for Emily? That evening, Emily confided in her mother about Sophia's bombshell news. Helena listened, her expression darkening. "If she's truly pregnant, this complicates everything," she said solemnly. "You must be prepared for a public spectacle if she goes to the press." Emily nodded, her throat tight. She could already imagine tabloid headlines, "Billionaire, love triangle exposed." They would swarm the Harrington name, overshadow Emily's charitable reputation, perhaps even harm her unborn child's future. The scandal was all-consuming. "I need to speak to William," Emily decided. "If he denies responsibility, we need to verify the truth. But if there's even a sliver of possibility that the child is his, I won't see it abandoned or used as a weapon." Helena squeezed Emily's hand. "You're doing the right thing, darling, but be careful. Love makes men do foolish things. Shame and guilt make them do worse." Early the next morning, Emily placed a call to William. He picked up on the second ring, his voice thick with exhaustion. "Emily, is everything okay? I've been frantic. I miss you." Emily's eyes stung. "William, we have a serious matter to discuss Sophia's pregnancy." There was a pause. Then William let out a ragged breath. "She told you. She showed up here unannounced." "She claims she's pregnant with your child." He swore under his breath. "She's lying, Emily. She's trying to manipulate me. I have reason to believe she's done this before, fabricated a pregnancy to get hush money. She's extorted other men, or so I've heard. That's why I cut her off completely." Emily hesitated. Despite her hatred for Sophia, she couldn't ignore the possibility that William might be spinning half-truths to salvage his reputation. "We need proof, a paternity test, medical record, something. Otherwise, this is going to hang over us." William agreed, though reluctantly. "Fine. I'll have my legal team reach out to her, arrange for a discreet test. But Emily, please come home. We can face this together." Emily's chest tightened. Home. The word no longer carried the same warmth. "I'll return when I'm ready," she said softly, then hung up. Her decision made, she dialed her personal investigator, a discreet professional named Jonathan Kincaid, who'd handled some of her philanthropic security checks. If there was one person who could unravel Sophia's claims swiftly, it was Jonathan. Within days, Jonathan Kincaid delivered his findings in the study at Silver Pines. He was a wiry man in his 40s, with sharp hazel eyes that missed nothing. Quiet and unassuming, Jonathan had once worked for Interpol before transitioning to private investigations for the elite. Emily trusted him implicitly. He laid out folders of documents, each piece meticulously marked with tabs. "Miss Caldwell, indeed, has a history of questionable relationships," he began, "but no definitive evidence of prior false pregnancy claims. She's heavily in debt and recently defaulted on her mortgage. Her professional reputation is currently in tatters due to suspected unethical dealings with journalists. She's desperate." Emily looked through the documents, her heart sinking at the mess. "This doesn't prove she's lying about the pregnancy, though." Jonathan nodded. "Correct. She visited a local clinic 3 weeks ago, presumably for a prenatal checkup. However, the records are sealed and require her consent or a court order to access. I'm afraid we can't confirm or deny her claim without her cooperation." Emily rubbed her temples. "So we're stuck?" "Not necessarily," Jonathan replied. "I believe she's weaponizing the story for leverage. My sources say she's reached out to more than one tabloid. If she can't get hush money from William, she might plan to sell her story. She's also left subtle hints implying she's holding evidence that proves their affair, and possibly the child's paternity." A knot formed in Emily's stomach. "Evidence? Potentially emails, recordings, or photos," Jonathan said. "She's cunning. She won't play her hand until she's sure how to maximize gain." Emily inhaled sharply. This had spiraled beyond a mere marital betrayal. It was now a looming public scandal. And she was caught in the crossfire, her unborn child's future at stake. "I need to figure out a strategy," she murmured, half to herself. Jonathan offered a reassuring smile. "You're not alone, Mrs. Harrington. I'll keep tabs on Sophia. You focus on your well-being and decide how you want to proceed legally if she goes public." Emily thanked him, her thoughts swirling. As if the heartbreak of discovering William's affair wasn't enough, she now faced a potential PR catastrophe. She sank into a deep armchair, gazing out a bay window overlooking the serene lake, longing for the tranquility of that view to seep into her own turbulent life. 2 days later, a sleek black limousine arrived at Silver Pines. William stepped out, looking gaunt yet resolute. Emily was in the drawing room, perched on a piano bench, absently touching keys without producing actual music. When the staff announced her husband's arrival, she braced herself. He entered with a faint attempt at a smile, but Emily remained composed. He crossed the room and reached for her hand. She withdrew. Hurt flashed in his eyes. "Emily," he began quietly, "I know words can't fix what I've done, but I can't stand being away from you and the baby." She looked at him, tears threatening to surface again. "I wish love was enough to erase betrayal, William." He pressed on, voice laden with remorse. "I spoke with my lawyers. They're preparing to meet with Sophia's legal counsel to demand a paternity test. If she refuses, we'll use that as evidence her claim is fraudulent. If she agrees, and it turns out I am the father, then I'll take responsibility. Financially, yes, but also in whatever way you think is appropriate." "You say that now," Emily said, bitterness edging her words. "But if you truly cared for me, you wouldn't have risked our marriage in the first place." His shoulders slumped. "Emily, I was weak. I messed up. I let lust and confusion cloud my judgment. It had nothing to do with how I feel about you. I know that might be impossible to believe, but it's true." She folded her arms protectively over her bump. "Where do we go from here, William? I can't live under the same roof while I'm drowning in distrust." William's eyes glistened with tears. "Let me earn it back. Let me be the man you fell in love with. Come home. We can set up separate rooms if you prefer. We can do marital counseling, whatever it takes. But I want to be there for our baby's birth, for every step leading up to that moment." A swirl of emotions engulfed Emily. She craved stability, a united front for their child. Yet the wound was too fresh, the betrayal too raw, to simply forgive. Slowly, she nodded. "I'll return," she said, voice trembling. "But understand, this isn't a reconciliation. It's an arrangement for the baby. I'll move back, but I won't pretend things are normal." William exhaled a shaky breath. "That's enough for now. Thank you, Emily." As they prepared to leave, Helena embraced Emily. "Be strong, my love," her mother whispered. "And remember, you don't owe him anything beyond what your heart can bear." Emily only nodded, uncertain about the path she was choosing, yet believing it was best for her child's future. She left Silver Pines, heart pounding with apprehension, returning to the Harrington estate, a place that was once a symbol of her fairy tale marriage, but now felt more like a haunted castle filled with ghosts of broken trust. The ride back was silent. William tried to hold Emily's hand, but she kept it firmly in her lap. Upon arriving at the estate, Emily's heart fluttered with conflicting emotions, nostalgia for the once warm homecoming, dread for what lay ahead. The staff greeted her politely, their expressions carefully neutral. Rumors traveled fast, even in discreet households. Emily wondered how many of them had suspected the affair. True to his word, William arranged for Emily to stay in a separate suite. This suite was lavish in its own right, a plush four-poster bed, a cozy fireplace, and an attached nursery under decoration for the baby. Once alone, Emily surveyed the half-finished nursery. A hand-painted mural of a whimsical forest adorned one wall. She remembered how excited she'd felt picking out color schemes, imagining bedtime stories. Now, those memories were tinged with bitterness. That evening, they dined in near silence. The tension was palpable, the only conversation revolving around business or scheduling. Emily avoided any mention of Sophia, as did William, until the final course. "I have a meeting with Sophia and her lawyer tomorrow," William muttered. "We'll demand the paternity test. My legal team insists on complete confidentiality." Emily nodded, pushing her half-eaten food around the plate. "Keep me informed," he sighed. "Emily, I know this is awkward, but would you consider counseling sessions? We need to talk to someone, a professional." She hesitated, remembering countless friends who'd sworn by couples therapy. "Fine," she said at last, "but I'm not promising anything more than attendance." William thanked her with misty eyes. Emily felt a pang. She knew he was genuinely remorseful, yet her heart was still too bruised to find comfort in his regret. After dinner, she retired to her suite, ignoring the longing look he cast her way. She reminded herself that trust must be earned, not freely granted. The next morning, Emily woke to urgent knocking on her suite door. She opened it to find William, his phone in hand, face ashen. "Sophia went public," he said in a choked voice. "She sold her story to the New World Times. They've just published an article, online photos, text messages, everything." A chill swept through Emily. She rushed to grab her own phone, quickly searching for the article. Sure enough, the headline blared, "Billionaire Harrington's love affair and love child, exclusive details." The article featured a series of compromising images. William and Sophia at a luxury resort, apparently on a business trip. Blurred screenshots of texts suggested William had professed love to Sophia. Another snippet was an unverified ultrasound image labeled "Baby Caldwell." Emily's vision blurred with anger and shame. The article was rife with speculation, painting Emily as the unsuspecting wife. Already, thousands of comments poured in, some mocking, some pitying, others vicious. She dropped her phone onto the bed as if it were toxic. William looked panicked. "I'm sorry. I had no idea she had these photos. It was during a conference in Bora Bora. She must have made it look more intimate than it was. The texts. Maybe I was foolish once to say such things, but I never meant them." Emily seethed. "You told her you loved her? William, how could you?" The question escaped her lips before she could stop it. She felt tears welling, but forced them back. "We need to strategize. This is already spiraling. The board of Harrington Global will be furious. Our philanthropic partnerships might be jeopardized." William tried to comfort her, placing a hand on her arm. She shook him off, stepping back. "No," she said curtly. "First, we address this scandal publicly. Then, we finalize the paternity test. Until then, I'm focusing on staying calm for my child's sake." "Do your part, William," he nodded, swallowing hard. "I'll handle it." But could he, really? Emily saw the fear in his eyes. The unstoppable wave of scandal was upon them, threatening not just their marriage, but also the massive empire William had built. As for Emily, she realized that love and betrayal weren't the only forces at play. They were now at the mercy of public scrutiny and corporate politics. Within hours, news vans circled the Harrington estate gates, paparazzi flashing cameras at any passing car. The scandal was front page everywhere. Emily's philanthropic partners reached out, concerned about negative fallout on charitable projects. Some discreetly suggested stepping back until the scandal died down. Even the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation sent a carefully worded email expressing hope that matters would resolve soon, but clarifying that they had to preserve their image. Meanwhile, William's board of directors held an emergency meeting. Harrington Global stocks dipped on the news, battered by the swirl of controversy. Some shareholders demanded William step back as CEO until the scandal cleared, to preserve the company's reputation. William tried to reassure them, but the rift was clear. His personal life was jeopardizing the business's stability. In the midst of the chaos, Emily felt torn between rage at William and concern for the empire that was, in many ways, also her child's inheritance. Despite her anger, she realized she didn't want to see everything they'd built burn to the ground. That afternoon, public relations teams swarmed the mansion. A press statement was quickly drafted and revised multiple times. "Mr. Harrington acknowledges personal struggles that have recently come to light. He and Miss S. Harrington remain united in their commitment to their growing family. A paternity test is being arranged to address any false claims. We request privacy while we resolve these personal matters and uphold the values that have guided Harrington Global's philanthropic and business endeavors." It felt hollow, a bandage over a gaping wound, yet Emily had no alternative at the moment. The final statement was sent out, plastered across news outlets within minutes. Social media lit up and the rumor mill spun harder. Lines were drawn, some sympathized with Emily as a victim, others scorned her as a naive socialite. Conspiracy theories cropped up, including one that Emily already knew about Sophia's pregnancy and was orchestrating a cover-up. The world had become a circus, and they were the main attraction. The day finally came for the paternity test. Emily insisted on being present. She needed to see Sophia face-to-face once more to confirm whether her pregnancy was real, and if so, who the father truly was. Their meeting took place at a private clinic on the outskirts of the city, far from prying paparazzi cameras. Emily arrived first with William and 2 lawyers in tow. Tension coiled within her. She half expected Sophia to pull some dramatic stunt, but when Sophia walked in, she was noticeably thinner, eyes shadowed. Her lawyer was a woman with a hawk-like demeanor. Sophia didn't look at Emily. Instead, she focused on William. A nurse led them to a discreet examination room. There, a doctor performed an ultrasound, turning the monitor so only Sophia could see at first. Sophia's lawyer insisted on verifying the images. William's lawyers watched from the corner, stoic. Then the doctor turned the monitor for Emily and William. A fetus was clearly visible, roughly the same gestational age as Sophia claimed. Emily's stomach clenched. Despite her revulsion for Sophia, the swirling image of new life hammered home the gravity of the situation. If this child was William's, Emily's own baby would have a half-sibling. Tears burned at the corners of her eyes. She blinked them back. The doctor then obtained samples: blood from William, blood from Sophia, a cheek swab. The environment was coldly clinical, absent of any emotional comfort. As soon as it was over, Sophia's lawyer declared they would await the results before making further statements. Sophia, eyes downcast, gathered her purse. She glanced at Emily, lips parted as if to speak, but no words came out. For a moment, a surge of pity flickered in Emily. Then she remembered Sophia's betrayal, the sensational article, the heartbreak, and hardened her resolve. She offered a curt nod, then turned away. Within a week, the test would reveal everything. 2 days later, Emily and William began therapy with Dr. Adrienne Mills, a renowned marriage counselor used by celebrity couples. Her office was in a converted townhouse, warm and inviting. They sat on a plush couch, a box of tissues on a coffee table between them, ironically symbolic of their precarious emotional state. Dr. Mills had a calm, reassuring presence. She invited them to share their perspectives. William went first, trembling with shame. "I made a terrible mistake," he confessed. "I've neglected my marriage. Let power go to my head. I don't want to lose Emily, but I don't know how to fix this." Emily resisted the urge to roll her eyes. Dr. Mills turned to her gently. "Emily, how do you feel hearing that?" She took a moment. "I feel betrayed, humiliated, angry. At the same time, I'm still tied to William through our child, through our shared history. I'm not sure if I can ever trust him again. Yet part of me wants to, for the sake of our baby." Dr. Mills nodded. "Trust is like a tapestry. It takes years to weave and seconds to tear. Repair requires time, commitment, and honesty." "William, do you acknowledge Emily's anger as valid?" He nodded fervently. "Yes, I understand I've shattered her world." "Emily, do you believe William's remorse is genuine?" Dr. Mills asked. Emily bit her lip. "I believe he's sorry he got caught, and sorry for hurting me. But I still question if he regrets his behavior or just the fallout from it." William looked wounded, but Dr. Mills intervened. "That's an important distinction, Emily. It's fair. William, can you see how she'd feel that way?" "Yes," he managed quietly. "I want to show her I truly regret what I did, not just how it's affecting my public image." Dr. Mills guided them through communication exercises, William speaking his feelings, Emily summarizing them, and vice versa. The process felt tedious, even painful, but there were moments of clarity, such as when William described how his father's relentless pursuit of corporate success left him emotionally starved as a child. "I never learned how to deal with intimacy," he admitted. "When things got stressful, I sought validation outside my marriage. It was wrong. I see that now." Emily teared up hearing this. She'd always assumed William was impervious to emotional wounds. Therapy brought new layers of understanding, though it didn't necessarily ease her pain yet. They left after 2 hours, both emotionally exhausted. Dr. Mills scheduled them for weekly sessions. It was a small step toward a daunting climb. As they stepped onto the sidewalk, paparazzi cameras flashed. William shielded Emily, ushering her into a waiting car. The reality of their exposed lives slammed home again. Any progress they made privately was overshadowed by public scrutiny. The next day, a plain envelope was delivered to Harrington Estate by courier. Paternity test results. Emily and William opened it together in the study. Emily's heart pounded like a drum. She glanced at William. His face was grey. The final line read, "Probability of paternity, 0%. Relief crashed over Emily like a wave, followed by confusion. "It's not yours," she whispered. You're not the father?" William let out a strangled laugh, part relief, part disbelief. "I told you she was lying. It's not mine. We can finally bury this." Emily sank onto a leather chair, mind reeling. But why? Why go so far as to fake it? William grimaced. "Money, I guess. Or leverage. Maybe she convinced herself it would make me abandon you or pay her a fortune." Emily felt a flicker of pity for Sophia, mixed with profound anger. She'd torpedoed their marriage for a lie. Then again, William had still had an affair. Sophia's false pregnancy didn't wash away that betrayal, but at least the baby factor was removed. For a moment, Emily let out the breath she'd been holding for days. There was one less shadow looming over her unborn child's life. William reached for her hand. She let him take it, though her heart felt numb. "Does this change anything for us?" he asked gently. Emily closed her eyes. "It means you don't have another child, but it doesn't erase what you did. We still have a marriage in tatters." He nodded grimly. "I know. I'm just so thankful you don't have to share me with someone else's child." That complication alone, Emily withdrew her hand. "It's not about sharing you, William. It's about whether I can share my life with you at all." He bowed his head. "I understand." Before they could speak further, Emily's phone buzzed. To her surprise, it was Sophia calling. Emily declined the call immediately. In less than a minute, a text message arrived. "I know the results, but we're not done. You're going to regret humiliating me." Emily's blood ran cold. She showed it to William. His face darkened. "I'll file for a restraining order if she harasses you." Emily could only nod. She was tired of drama, exhausted by the constant swirl of conflict. She hoped Sophia would just disappear. But something told her that the scorned PR manager wouldn't surrender that easily. Despite the negative paternity results, tabloids continued feasting on the scandal. They speculated on the tests being faked, or if William had bribed medical professionals. Sophia granted a second interview, refusing to admit the results publicly. Instead, she insinuated powerful forces were suppressing the truth. She hinted at evidence that she had yet to reveal. Paparazzi camped outside the estate, straining to capture a new angle. On top of that, Harrington Global's stock remained shaky. Major investors threatened to pull out if William didn't stabilize the company's reputation. William's days became a frenzy of damage control board meetings, press briefings, phone calls to philanthropic allies. Emily stayed in the mansion, focusing on her pregnancy, but she felt like a prisoner in her own home. As her due date approached, Emily grew more anxious. The baby's movements, once a source of excitement, now reminded her of the uncertain future. She dreaded the possibility of giving birth amid a flurry of paparazzi or in a fractured marriage overshadowed by betrayal. William tried to be present, to read parenting books with her, to hold her when she felt the baby kick. But Emily remained guarded, unsure how to reconcile his comforting gestures with the sting of his affair. Meanwhile, Jonathan Kincaid continued to monitor Sophia, who had laid low but was rumored to be shopping around exclusive materials, perhaps photos, videos, or voice recordings from her time with William. If true, another scandalous revelation could erupt at any moment, pushing Emily further into the public eye. The final straw came late one night, roughly a month before Emily's due date. William was asleep in the guest suite. Emily had been pacing the nursery, restless. The staff had long retired for the evening. Then her phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered, a woman's voice trembling. "Emily, it's Sophia. Don't hang up. I beg you." Emily's heart hammered. "How did you get this number?" she demanded. "I've always had it," Sophia admitted. "During the affair, William gave it to me in case I needed to reach him through you," she sniffled. "Look, I'm not here to threaten, I need help." Emily felt a surge of anger. "Stop playing the victim. The test showed William isn't the father." "This conversation is pointless." Sophia's voice shook. "The test was legit. Okay, I was wrong about him being the father. But that doesn't change what happened between us. And it doesn't change that I've lost everything, my job, my apartment, my future in PR. I have nothing left." "You brought it on yourself," Emily said coldly. "You tried to ruin my life." Sophia let out a shaky breath. "I know. I was desperate. I lied about the baby's father, hoping to push William into saving me. It was stupid. But I never expected him to ruin me so thoroughly. His lawyers, his connections, have blacklisted me. I can't get a job anywhere. I'm behind on rent. I'm so close to living on the streets." A pang of discomfort twisted inside Emily. She recalled Helena's warning that men under stress can become ruthless. "So what do you want from me?" "I'm leaving the country. I have a contact in Singapore who might give me a fresh start." "I don't want to fight anymore," Sophia said, "but I have a final piece of evidence. It's a video of William saying, 'He was in love with me. If I sell it, I can get enough to escape my debts. But I'd rather you buy it so the story doesn't get out. I'll delete it afterward.'" Emily's eyes closed. Blackmail. Even if Sophia framed it as a final plea, it was blackmail. "Why should I trust you?" she asked, voice trembling with rage and something akin to pity. "You shouldn't," Sophia said miserably. "But you want to protect your baby from endless scandal, right? If the public sees William swearing his love to me recently, the story will explode again. You can give me a settlement, and I'll vanish." Emily inhaled deeply, her mind spinning. Could she buy her way out of another meltdown? Would William's words in the video confirm a deeper love for Sophia than he'd admitted? And could Sophia be trusted to truly vanish afterward? In the end, Emily said, "I'll think about it," and hung up. Emily spent the night tossing and turning. By morning, she decided to tell William everything. She found him in his makeshift office, scanning emails. As she relayed Sophia's call, his face hardened. "We don't negotiate with blackmailers," he growled. "But if we don't," Emily reasoned, "that video might surface, fueling another wave of scandal. At this point, I just want peace." William let out a weary sigh. "I'll let my legal team handle it." She might be bluffing. Or maybe the video is heavily edited. We have enough resources to fight her in court. Emily felt a knot in her chest. The baby kicked, as if sensing her distress. "William, the first about to give birth soon. I can't endure more stress. If paying her off ensures she disappears, maybe it's worth it." He looked pained. "Emily, I don't want you to feel we're caving to extortion," she nodded slowly. "Maybe we can propose a settlement, strict confidentiality, ironclad legal agreements, immediate departure from the country. We can ensure the original video is handed over. Just make sure we handle it carefully. William hesitated, then agreed. Fine, for you and our child, I'll consider it. They contacted their lawyers who, after much debate, settled on a plan, offer Sophia a sizable sum under strict conditions. If she ever leaked the video or slandered William again, she'd face massive legal and financial penalties. Meanwhile, Jonathan Kincaid would oversee her departure to ensure she had no hidden copies. In the final days before Emily's due date, the hush of expectancy hung over the estate. Negotiations with Sophia were in progress, seemingly moving toward a quiet resolution. Emily and William continued therapy, delving deeper into trust issues, childhood traumas, and mutual dreams. Little by little, Emily felt the ice in her heart thaw, though it remained uncertain if the wound could ever fully heal. Then, one early morning, Emily woke to piercing pain. Her contractions had begun. William rushed her to the private wing of the city hospital they had reserved. The birth was intense, a swirl of agony and elation. Hours later, Emily cradled a tiny baby girl in her arms. She had William's nose and Emily's dark hair. In that miraculous moment, tears flooded Emily's eyes. She was overwhelmed by the purest love she had ever felt. William stood by her side, tears streaming down his own cheeks. "She's perfect," he whispered. Emily nodded, speechless. Whatever rift lay between them, their daughter represented hope, an innocent soul untainted by scandal. Emily pressed a tender kiss to her daughter's forehead, silently vowing to protect her from the world's harshness. In the days that followed, Emily and William coexisted in a delicate truce, bound by the overwhelming love they felt for their newborn. Sophia, true to the settlement agreement, left the country. She released a brief statement denying any further comment. The tabloids moved on to fresh scandals. Still, the question lingered. Could Emily truly forgive William? The therapy sessions continued. In stolen moments, he'd hold her, apologizing again and again, acknowledging it would take time to earn her trust. She felt the sincerity in his words, but trust wasn't a switch one could simply flick. As Emily rocked her newborn late one night, she gazed at the sleeping child's face and realized life would never be perfect, but it could be real, honest, and if she allowed it, filled with love. The path to healing would be long and messy, but she had a reason to try. The baby in her arms, whose happiness depended on finding stability and unity. For her sake, Emily decided to give William and their marriage a second chance. Their story wasn't tied up in a neat bow. William had betrayed her, but in the tender hush of the nursery, with her daughter's heartbeat against her chest, Emily found the strength to attempt forgiveness. She glanced at William, dozing in a chair nearby, exhausted yet radiant with fatherly devotion. In time, they'd either rebuild their marriage on stronger foundations or decide it couldn't be salvaged. But for now, they had a new life to care for, and with that new life came a new beginning, however fragile and uncertain. And so ends this tumultuous journey filled with heartbreak, scandal, and an unexpected path to tentative healing. Emily Harrington faced the ultimate betrayal from the man she loved, only to confront a manipulative foe who refused to exit quietly. Yet through courage, resilience, and the unconditional love for her unborn child, Emily discovered her own strength. In the end, she chose to forge a new start, uncertain but hopeful, proving that sometimes love can withstand even the harshest storms, if both parties fight for it. If you found this story gripping, full of drama, twists, and raw emotion, please show your support. Like this video, share it with friends who appreciate riveting real-life drama fiction, and subscribe for more immersive stories that spotlight the complexities of love, betrayal, and redemption. Your engagement helps us continue crafting compelling narratives for you to enjoy. Thank you for watching.